in this moment. He's from the PMLN. He's, of course, Nawaz Sharif's younger brother. We see him over there, I think, making these statements among a number of allegations, questioning why the Imran Khan-led government was so warm towards leaders from the United States when they had apparently threatened their government. We'll get you more details from that press conference, but right now let's go over to two guests that we have joining us right now. First, we have Advocateaashutoshsrivastava. He's a lawyer. He's with us from the Supreme Court. Sir, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon here on CNN News 18. There's a lot of confusion, I think, right now when it comes to particular articles in the Constitution, Article 5 and Article 6. One article we're obviously seeing the PTI bring up, and the other article we're seeing the PMLN bring up and the PPP bring up in response to the first article. I'm going to ask you for a little bit more clarity on this, all because obviously, just to give our audiences a little context, the Supreme Court is also going to be taking a look at this once again in Pakistan in just a few moments from now. So could you give us more of an overview on what each of these articles are? But sir, I also want to ask you, yesterday there was another question that was asked. It was the question of whether or not the Supreme Court even had it within its purview to be taking a look at this issue at all. Could you also give us your perspective on that?
Yes, I just want to say everything in simple words so that everybody can understand the issue. See, first of all, as we know that the no confidence motion was brought on the table by the opposition parties, and that was brought in actually March of this year. However, this was not further argued or tabled upon further, and this matter was pending. Now, when this was brought, the Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly of Pakistan said that it is not legal, and he denied to entertain that. And then, obviously, the Supreme Court of Pakistan took suo motu cognizance of the matter, and the matter will be further heard as to what is the legality and what are the concerns involved. Now, in simple words, there are 342, votes totally in the National Assembly, out of which at least 172, that is more than 50% of the strength, is required for the government either to continue or for the no confidence motion, where the Prime Minister of the Democratic Parliament will be announced to be not continuing if it happens. But in this case, it is very difficult to say at the moment as to what had happened and why the Speaker thought that it was not legal. And accordingly, the Supreme Court will be hearing the matter, and it has been adjourned from time to time. Now, as per the law, if this no confidence motion is allowed, and with that, the opposition, as you said, the PTI was having 155 votes earlier, which has further increased. And if they vote, to oust the Prime Minister, so in that case, obviously there will be another vote by which a new Prime Minister can be, elected. And accordingly, the new Prime Minister will be under law. He will be required to conduct immediate elections, even not waiting for August 2023, where the elections are due in Pakistan. And then obviously a new government can be formed with the new elections if it happens. But at the moment, what I can clarify the issue that 50% votes obviously is required for either of the two things, either to continue the PM further in Pakistan or to oust him from the parliament in both the situations, and that number of votes will be 172. So now the Supreme Court has to see that what, and secondly that whenever this kind of no confidence motion is tabled, as per the Pakistan parliamentary laws and the constitution, that has to be tabled no sooner than 3 days and not later than 7 days. Now that is also a question of law as to how it took more than required days to table such kind of no confidence motion. Why the delay was caused, and even when the delay was caused, then why it was declared to be illegal or unlawful by the speakers. So all these aspects are to be heard by the Supreme Court now, and we'll have to wait as to what kind of decision it takes to. As of now, the Supreme Court has already sent the notices to all the respondents to be present and place their say as to what has happened so far in the National Assembly of Pakistan.
Ashutosh, I'm actually going to come back to you in a second to get more of a historical context on this, but we also have Omar Altaf. He's a senior journalist who's with us live from Pakistan. I'm going to go over to Omar with our next question. Omar, thank you for joining us once again on CNN News 18. I want to take a piece of that question over to you also. Immediately after reports that this was going to the Supreme Court, you had heard reports come forward and questions asked over whether or not this fell within the Supreme Court's purview at all or not. There's also been a big question mark over whether or not the PTI will accept any judgment that comes forward from the Supreme Court. I'd like to know your perspective on both, please.
No, I think both parties have shown that they trust the Supreme Court. The statements have been such that both opposition and government, the former government, would abide by any decision that Supreme Court reaches up to. Obviously, they could have disagreements with that decision, but it remains to be seen how much restraint the Supreme Court shows. The act opposition thinks is subversion of the Constitution. The government so far has thinks that it is legally justifiable. So both sides are going to be pleading their cases in the Supreme Court. But whatever has happened is unprecedented. No one was expecting it, and this is not a very legally explainable thing that the government and the Deputy Speaker have done. So obviously they would have to lay the grounds of their decision in the Supreme Court. They would need to explain it threadbare that why the Article 5 was invoked. Was there a threat to the solidarity or integrity of the country that forced the Deputy Speaker to invoke that Article 5, which can only be invoked under very extraordinary circumstances? And the whole decision is based on that. And if this is nullified, everything is going to change. The ground reality is going to change. But the court may find a middle ground, and that could be acceptable to both parties as well.
What could that middle ground potentially look like, if you could very quickly tell us?
That middle ground could obviously pave way for the elections, which in my opinion is the only way to solve this constitutional and political crisis. There needs to be a fresh mandate needs to be sought for anyone to govern the country now. So this political logjam can only be settled through elections, going back to the public. The constitutional crisis so far can only be settled in that way. That's what my opinion is.
Omar, Ashutosh, do stay with us for a second. I just want to take our audiences to more voices that we're getting from the ground. These, of course, were two experts, but in an exclusive conversation with Anand Narasimhan, Imran Khan's estranged ex-wife, that's Reham Khan, she's commented on the Prime Minister multiple times in the past. To the entire controversy that took place yesterday, she slammed the Assembly dissolution move. She's dubbed it as game over for the Prime Minister. I want you to take a look at that interview, and then we'll try to return to our experts. Do take a look.
Somewhere do you feel that this is not the birthday gift that you deserve, or what Pakistan deserved on perhaps the first day of Ramzan, and that somewhere Imran Khan had planned it to the T. So the way it plays out, it's not something which has happened of its own. He's planned it. And can the courts really intervene into what has transpired inside the National Assembly?
I think that it wasn't enough for him just to be removed by the vote of no confidence. He decided, perhaps he's a little bit wary of perhaps facing me in elections because he's clearly killed his political career. He's put the final nail in the coffin. So I think it couldn't have been a better present for me. But I think that it isn't the birthday present that we expect from a man who lets be completely clear about this, that this man and his ego has been pumped by Pakistanis for nearly half a century. And I think that he could have shown some grace. I think that people did not deserve this from him. He is over. It's game over for him. This is perhaps the only way he could get down in our history books. There was no other way of getting into the history books. But he has confirmed that he is going down in the history books alongside Pervez Musharraf, alongside people like General Zia and dictators who have dissolved the assemblies when they did not have the right to do so. So if he wants to be sealing his status as fascism, If he doesn't really want to leave it to Bilawal Bhutto or Reham Khan to call him a fascist, he is calling himself a fascist. History books will call him a fascist. I couldn't be happier. I think that he is trying to be an Erdogan. He's not. I think that he is trying to be a Zulfikar Ali Bhutto. He can dream on. But the only thing he is successful in being is a little bit of a mini Trump. Let's be honest, this guy wants to create a civil-military tension. He wants anarchy on the street. I have high hopes. I think that the opposition has high hopes, and I think the military would also like that the Chief Justice of Pakistan rises to the occasion and calls a spade a spade. This is clear violation of the Constitution.
All right, let's go back now to our two experts who are with us right now to get more context on the story. I'm going to reintroduce you. There's Omar Altaf, he's the senior journalist. We also have Ashutoshsrivastava, he's a Supreme Court lawyer. Mr. Altaf, I want to come over to you once again very quickly for our next question, just for our audiences, because there's a lot of, I'd say, excitement. The world's attention right now is on Pakistan's Supreme Court. Give us a little bit of context here. Historically, how have we seen the Supreme Court rule when it comes to issues like this and stories like this? Tell me also, when it comes to the legal community, largely in Pakistan, what percent, say, of experts believe that the ruling will be in the favor of elections?
So the large number of constitutional experts in Pakistan think what happened yesterday is against the Constitution. Some go to the extent of saying that the Constitution was subverted. Others say that it was a very smart move and the PTI government played around the Constitution in a very deft manner. So the opinion is divided, but the majority still thinks that this is against what happened. It was against the Constitution, but it's now for the courts to decide. People can have an opinion on it, and now the courts. There is so much political polarization in the country that courts would also want to. Obviously, they have to interpret the law, but they have to do so in a way which is also acceptable to both the parties, so that they need to avert a showdown as well and pave the way for elections. And so they are going to consider exercising restraint, but obviously they also have to uphold the law. And in 1993, the president had dismissed the National Assembly when Nawaz Sharif was in power during his first term as the Prime Minister. So the Supreme Court reinstated that assembly. So there is precedence of Supreme Court intervening and reinstating an assembly. So that is what the opposition parties would want. The assemblies to be reinstated, the act of speaker be declared unconstitutional, and voting be held on the no confidence motion. And that would result in them ousting Imran Khan through that. So if that happens, everything that Imran Khan has done after this ruling of the speaker would be undone, because that would mean Imran Khan had no authority in exercising his authority as the chief executive of the country. So that could open a can of worms.
All right, Mr. Altaf, stay with us. Mr. Srivastava, stay with us. We've been telling our audiences right now about the parties that are important to keep a track of. There's obviously the PTI, the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf. There's the PMLN, from where there is Shehbaz Sharif, and there's also, importantly, PPP. Right now, as we speak, we have Bhutto from PPP.
So amidst all of this back and forth and the drama that still continues to play out in Pakistan, all eyes on the Supreme Court of Pakistan. So what can the court really decide, and what really are the possible outcomes or the consequences? Let's break down the details. The first option is that you declare the Deputy Speaker's move unconstitutional, which will be a setback to Imran Khan. Declare dissolution of the Assembly unconstitutional. That is another option that can be seen coming out of the Supreme Court as well. You accept the dissolution as in line with the Constitution. If that happens, then you pave the way for early elections in the country. Also, what we can see as part of the Supreme Court, that's why we pointed out, it's literally Article 5 versus Article 6. That's the fight that's playing out currently with what is being quoted by Camp Imran Khan vis-a-vis the opposition. So as we pointed out, all eyes currently on the Supreme Court of Pakistan. From Pakistan, we have senior journalist Moed Jafri, who is now joining us. Moed, as we said, all eyes really on the Supreme Court. Which way will it go? Will it be a big boost to Imran Khan, or will it be a boost to the opposition? First, talk to us. Have the proceedings begin there in the Supreme Court?
The proceedings start at 1:30 p.m. Indian Standard Time, 1 p.m. Pakistan Standard Time. And there's a lot of speculation of how these things will go. What exactly we need to understand here is that the Supreme Court can only intervene in the matters of the Parliament to a certain degree. It cannot completely overrule one thing or the other on its own pretext. Neither can it just stay quiet when somebody abrogates the Constitution, if it feels somebody or some political party has abrogated the Constitution. So we are basically, everybody is just waiting to see how the Supreme Court will handle this extremely delicate situation.
Moed, we'll request you to stay on with us. We also have a lawyer from the Supreme Court, Ashutosh, who's also now joining us to help us understand why is the outcome of the Supreme Court so important today as far as politics and the future of Pakistan is concerned. Ashutosh, good afternoon. Good to have you on the broadcast with us. As I pointed out, it's really become a fight of Article 5 versus Article 6. Can you just break down the details for our viewers in terms of, do we have a past precedent, and what have we seen from the Supreme Court in the past?
See, first of all, when this no confidence motion was brought, actually that was brought in the month of March 2022, and now it has been placed. So now the law says that it should be placed no sooner than 3 days and not later than 7 days. So now, considering the violation of Article 5, the Deputy Speaker considered it to be not legitimate to continue with the no confidence motion. However, the issue has gone to the Supreme Court. Now also the Article 6 which you asked me, that particularly says that if the government is run, unconstitutionally, without following the process of law, maybe forcefully, then in that case it has to be treated as a treason against the country, and the people who are doing it can be, prosecuted for severe punishment. Apart from that, these kind of activities cannot even be validated by the High Court or the Supreme Court of Pakistan. This is what the law says so far as Article 6 of the Constitution of Pakistan is concerned. Now, since we know that the matter has gone to the Supreme Court, which has taken the suo motu cognizance of the matter,
correct.
Now the Supreme Court has to see whether the decision of the Speaker while dismissing the no confidence motion was constitutional or not. If it finds to be unconstitutional, then obviously it can order accordingly, so that the no confidence motion can further be continued. It depends on the Supreme Court's verdict. And in that case, if it goes that way, so obviously, as I stated, that 342 votes are total number of votes in the National Assembly of Pakistan, out of which 172 votes are required for no confidence motion.
Correct.
And if that happens,
and that's the number that we were working with earlier as well. That was the majority figure, and Imran Khan at that time had realized that he doesn't have the numbers in his favor, and that's why many saying that whatever we've seen play out is because, and also a stamp in a way which Imran Khan has just gone ahead and proved that I didn't have the numbers in my favor. But Ashutosh, I'll request you to stay on with us. As we pointed out, there is a complete constitutional crisis that's playing out in Pakistan. Now, of course, as I pointed out, two articles being quoted here. Article 5, loyalty to state is the basic duty of every citizen. It also goes on to say, let's break down those details as well, that obedience to the law is obligation of every citizen. Now remember, why is this important? Because this was cited by the Deputy Speaker to dismiss that no confidence motion. If we talk about the next article, which is Article 6, which is essentially the narrative of the opposition, anyone subverting Constitution is guilty of high treason. Article 6 also goes on to say anyone who baits or collaborates is also guilty of treason. As I pointed out, this is of course being used by the opposition. Opposition is claiming Imran Khan and aides have flouted Article 6. Moed Jafri, of course, continues to be with us. Ashutosh also continues to be with us. Mohit, first I want to understand with what we saw play out over the weekend. There was a lot of back and forth, a lot of suspense and drama. Many were hoping, many were saying that possibly there will be a resignation that could come in by Imran Khan as well. With the kind of developments that we saw play out over the weekend, is this a way of Imran Khan accepting that he didn't have numbers in his favor?
Well, Imran Khan is somebody who would always play out as a winner. He would never ever accept defeat. You can call that being a sore loser or somebody who's just way too much motivated and full of himself. It's basically upon the people of Pakistan to decide. But the way he has gone about doing this has not went well with the legal fraternity of Pakistan. There are those who believe that it's a genius move, that and this way he has basically avoided the embarrassment of being voted out as the first Pakistani Prime Minister to be voted out through a no-confidence motion. But minutes before we came online, there was a joint press conference by the opposition, and they were very clearly pointing out that if Imran Khan is claiming that he knew about this letter on the 7th before the no-confidence motion was actually presented in the National Assembly, why was this motion accepted by PTI government? Why was it not thrown into the basket straight away? If they knew this was a grand conspiracy, why was it allowed inside the parliament? Why did the speaker allow this to go ahead? So there are a lot of glaring questions regarding this narrative, where Imran Khan's this entire, we could say, the theory of regime change by the U.S. It makes sense in some ways, and then it completely doesn't in others. And especially when it comes to Imran Khan's, if we're talking about that, when it comes to Imran Khan's mental approach, he is going to make sure that the popular wave that he's riding based on this narrative, he would cash it out in the form of snap polls. If the decision of the court today reverses the decision of the speaker yesterday, which completely dismissed the vote of no confidence, then Imran Khan would not get that opportunity, which basically raises the question, how would he react to the Supreme Court's decision if it goes against him?
Absolutely.
So it's rather, it's very, very delicately balanced right now after this decision comes, and everybody's hoping that it comes today, because if it doesn't, Imran Khan has already sent the summary to the opposition leader Shehbaz Sharif to nominate
as we said,
the caretaker
of course, all eyes
government for the
on the
coming elections
Pakistan
in 90
Supreme
days.
Court, but of course it will be very important to see a timely response as well. Mohit, we leave the conversation there. We'll of course continue to come back to you. We also have strategic and political analysts joining us from Pakistan. Kamar Cheema is also now joining us, and Ashutosh continues to be with us. Kamar Cheema, I want to come to you first. What do you make of the move by Imran Khan? Was it a brilliant move to try and buy more time and to avoid that humiliating defeat as far as the vote is concerned, or do you think he's dug his own grave and ended his political career?
Well, I think we can see it from multiple angles. For example, Imran Khan considers, and his legal team considers, this is a wonderful move. The people who were sympathizers of the Imran Khan, they believe that Imran Khan, whatever Imran Khan is doing, even he is flouting the constitution and not obeying the constitution, that is fine, because in Pakistan there is a belief that constitution is broken every day, every place, in every institution, so what? And Imran Khan, since he is not going to support the traitors and he is against the traitors, so he has done right. So this is a public wealth. But things will not be decided according to the wishes of the people or to the wish of the Imran Khan. There is a law in this country and there is a separation of power. That is why the judiciary has come up and they have taken a suo motu notice, and right now we have heard that the Supreme Court is just looking into it, and the Deputy Attorney General just retired yesterday, and the Attorney General is about to retire today. There is a statement which has come in the Pakistani Supreme Court, and today at 1 p.m. the Supreme Court had to come up with some kind of a thoughts on that, because the entire country is at standstill. Nobody knows who is Prime Minister, who is Chief Executive, and how orders are being executed. So with this one stroke or one motion or one verdict that came from the Deputy Speaker, he considered that the entire opposition, which constitutes maybe around 200 member National Assembly or somewhere around 195 member National Assembly. All of them are traitors, and how can the Deputy Speaker do this? And the Supreme Court Chief Justice gave a verdict yesterday
Okay.
that till this there is no decision. What we talk about, the President and the Prime Minister, whatever this the talk, they have to take care of the Supreme Court's verdict. So, but even then, the President and the Prime Minister are working. They are passing. They are making amendments. They are appointing governors. They have asked for even interim setup to the leader of the opposition. So Imran Khan has created a constitutional crisis. He has proven to be an authoritarian person. It is being said that this is his style of the coup, and that the democracy has been obviously been subverted.
Okay. But as we pointed out, today's biggest development, of course, will come from the Supreme Court in terms of which way it goes. I'll request my guests to stay on with us. Let's listen in to some political reactions.
मैं जरा आपको समझाना चाहता हूं कि ये हुआ क्या है, क्योंकि अभी तक वो ऑपोजिशन को समझ नहीं आ रही हुआ क्या है। ये जो नो कॉन्फिडेंस थी, इसकी बुनियाद बाहर थी। हमने वो चीज़ें लिखी नहीं वहाँ के कैसे यहाँ एम्बेसी के लोग मिल रहे थे, जो लोग हमारे से जब छोड़ के गए, जो लौटा हुए, तो इनको बाकायदा एम्बेसी के लोग मिलते थे। उनका क्या काम था? देखिए, हेड्स ऑफ कई दफ़ा बात पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज के हेड्स को इसलिए मिलते हैं कि वो पूछ सकते हैं मुल्क के सूरत हाल वगैरह, लेकिन इन लोगों को मिलने का उनका क्या था? तो वो सारा कनेक्शन था उसका नो कॉन्फिडेंस मूव, जो कि बाहर से इनिशिएटेड थी। तो जब एक दफ़ा मुल्क की हाईएस्ट सिक्योरिटी बॉडी ये कंफर्म कर देती है, तो उसके बाद तो ये प्रोसीडिंग्स ये इररेलेवेंट थी कि नंबर्स कितने हैं। तो मैं आपको ये बता नहीं सकता था, क्योंकि मुझे डर ये था कि ये वो आज वो शौक में ना होते अगर मैं सबको बता देता।
It is illegal, totally illegal, and the court has sat down. हम देखते हैं कोर्ट क्या कहते हैं और किस तरह कोर्ट, अदरवाइज हम हर चीज के लिए तैयार हैं। ये कोई इनके डराने बसलाने में आए, अगर इतना शौक है तो इलेक्शनों के लिए भी तैयार है।
I want to go back to our guests who continue to be with us. And Ashutosh, I want to come to you first. Of course, we are seeing all eyes on the Supreme Court and the possible options are in front of the Supreme Court as well. Now, of course, a lot was said yesterday whether this entire dissolution was in line with the Constitution or not, and was it even the purview of the Supreme Court? Can you give us more clarity on that?
In any country, Supreme Court is always considered to be the guardian of the constitution of that country. So if anything goes wrong in the eyes of the Supreme Court, it is the obligation of the Supreme Court to look after the matter so that nothing goes beyond the law which has been prescribed or which has been formed in that particular country. And here also, if we see, the Supreme Court has taken the cognizance on its own motion, and it has to decide whether the decision of the Deputy Speaker while dismissing the no confidence motion was constitutional or not. If the Supreme Court is satisfied that it was unconstitutional, obviously in that case the Supreme Court has to take a decision on that. And obviously in this case the respondent, that is the Speaker and the government, they also have to use the opportunity to notify the Supreme Court that whatever decision was taken by them was within the ambit of the Constitution of Pakistan, and they have not violated any provisions of law. And accordingly, the Supreme Court will reach to a conclusion after considering each and every aspect of the matter. Maybe whatever we are hearing through the media or whatever information is there would be much more the detailed knowledge and detailed.
Ashutosh, I really apologize for interrupting. I believe we're getting some breaking developments now coming in.